To Bid Nerds, everyone. Good morning, or whatever time of day you happen to be watching this show. We don't do it live anymore. My name is John Polnik. We are recording this show from the Container Park in downtown Las Vegas, along with my partner Michael Deeb in San Francisco. How are you, Michael Deeb?
Woohoo! JP, it's a Porsche today. I'm very, very happy. I think I should buy this car. Could you imagine today's car with my Magnus Walker wheels, my 1552s on this thing?
Yeah,
baby.
You're teasing it. You guys. What do we do on this show? For those of you who are new subscribers, what we do is we find the most interesting car from all the automotive auction sites. We have a conversation about that car. We tell you all about it, what's good, what's bad. And then we make a prediction as to what's going to happen with that car's auction. We make that prediction, and then we reconcile that prediction at the end of the show with what actually happens. We have a future machine. So when we record this show, it's before the auction ends. We'll go at the end of the show. We'll show you, we record the end of the show after the auction ends. We put those two things together. So we are not, look, we'll put our money where our mouth is. Maybe not our money where our mouth is. We'll actually, we'll at least admit when we're wrong, which is all the time. We're always wrong, so don't take our advice. All right, let's get to the most interesting car of the day. But before we do, we want to give a shout out to our good friends at Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. They are a classic dealer right here in Las Vegas. If you are looking for a classic Porsche or a new Porsche, give Steve a call over there. They always have amazing classics in stock, and you can kind of save yourself the hassle from all these auctions, because sometimes auctions are kind of a pain in the butt. Right, Deeb?
Sometimes you don't know what you're going to get, but if you're working with Godden, you will know exactly what you're going to get. And that's the difference. True.
All right. Well, today's car is a little bit of a, speaking of not getting what
not knowing what you get.
This is the kind of car that, I don't know, the cover of the book does not necessarily tell you the whole story. What are we talking about today, Michael Deeb?
All right, John, on paper, what we're looking at is a 1987 Porsche 911 Carrera. 87s have a G50 transmission. But what you get is this beautiful original Cassis car with a steel-bodied slant nose conversion. That's right. They bought the factory parts, and they took the car to, I can't remember the name of it, Alan Johnson Racing, a few years ago, and built this stunning Cassis slant nose. And what's cool is, I know, and I've heard of the idea that they've done slant nose on standard Carreras, but I've never seen one in person. Almost every slant nose I've ever seen has actually been a turbo, but this one is particularly cool. It's also adorned with these like really slick three-piece wheels that kind of look like they're evocative of the BBS alloy racing wheels from the era. Our car has just 40,000 original miles, and it's for sale by a dealer in Miami, Florida. Car was originally equipped with the limited slip differential, the Cassis metallic paint, and then the burgundy interior. Again, it's a G50 car with a sunroof and AC. It's essentially a standard regular Carrera-bodied 911 from that era. But the wide body on the Cassis, the boxed rockers, and the slant nose, JP, I'm telling you, this thing just kind of gets me going. I don't know why. The low miles really help, and the condition of the car looks to be really, really nice. I will say, John, that as they brought this car to PCAR market, a couple of things I want to bring up. One, this car has been for sale in Hemmings Auto News in their classifieds for a couple of months. I've sort of, liked the car and was just sort of watching it. I can't remember the number, but I do believe they were asking a price of just over $100,000 for it. The other interesting thing is that they didn't take out those beige, ugly floor mats from the front compartment of the car. And they didn't even take new pictures to bring the car to PCAR market. In other words, they ran it in the classifieds and then ran it on this auction platform with the same photos. I think that's a swing and a miss. If you didn't sell the car, why are you going to try and market it with the same assets? And so it'll be interesting to see. It's not that PCAR is the wrong place for this car, but I feel like the car is already stale because it's been in the classifieds, and is still actually up now with no no price because the car is listed on the auction price. So I'm really curious to see what this car does. I have a sneaky suspicion that this thing is going to wind up in the deal tank for an exorbitant amount of money. But I'm curious because this is a car I would drive. If I thought I could rip this thing for $78,000 or $85,000, I would. I would love to put my black wheels on this car and just drive it. A G50 with 40,000 miles, I think it'd be a lot of fun. And it's a head turner. I'm sure this car is so eye-catching in this color. I think it'd be really fun to show up on one of the professor runs in Southern California to go do the crest in a Cassis Slant Nose. I think it would, yeah, I think you get a lot of thumbs up in a car like this. I don't know about it from an investment standpoint, but I think you could, for the money, I think it'd be a lot of fun if it's right in or just under. If it could be had for just under 100,000, I think there's a lot of value there when you consider the gearbox and the miles. So JP, I send it back to you. Yay or nay on a Cassis Slant Nose Carrera non-turbo? They're probably going to ask investor money, but it's certainly, find me a turbo slant nose with 11,000 miles for under $200,000. I'll save you the trip. You can't. I promise you, if you have a factory M505 car with 11,000 miles and a turbocharger from any era, it'll be way over $200,000. So this car should still be a fantastic value, even if it's right at $100,000. And I think that's part of what makes it so interesting. The other part is I love Cassis, and I bet you do too. So I'll send it to you, JP. What do you think?
You mentioned that the conversion was done recently. Do we know?
I don't know about recently, but it was done by Alan Johnson Racing. You talk, and I'll look for the date on
because I mean, it's just this. I mean, most of these slant nose cars were done back in the 90s when that was a popular thing, and then the slant nose kind of went out of style. No one wants a slant. No, for the longest time, no one wanted a slant nose, and I think it's odd that you mentioned that most of the slant noses that you've seen have been turbo, and I from the factory certainly, but most of the slant noses that I see wind up being non-turbos. They're usually people that took older, mid-year cars and made them wide bodies and stuff. I owned, do you remember my Marlboro car? The Targa. Yeah. That thing was so badass. But that was just a regular 78 SC, I want to say, with a wide body, kit on it. It wasn't even that great a kit.
So cool.
I mean, it was steel body and everything like that. But yeah, I love slant noses. I love the cheese graters. I love the box rockers. I love all the 80s-ness that this car evokes. That was the style back then. That was such a big deal. Miami Vice. I mean, this car's in Florida, so it's definitely in the right place. The Cassis Red, I love that it exists. It's not necessarily a color that I would ever choose, but I could rock it. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of a little over it right now because Matt Farah won't shut the F up about it because he has his new Boxster in this color. Or what's the modern version of this color? I don't know if it's Cassis. It's like a different.
Yeah, they did it. They did a color like this on the Taycan that was reintroduced. It's like raspberry metallic or strawberry metallic or something. And whatever.
Yeah,
I like the original version of this, and I like seeing it with the G body accordion bumpers. That to me is cool. You may remember, JP, I walked to school every day for like 8 years, and there was a dentist who parked in my neighborhood so nobody would mess with his car, and he had his vanity plate was Bite Fixer, but it was a Cassis burgundy interior cabriolet, and on a summer day he'd just leave the car parked with the top down, and I walked by a car that was this paint for years, and it was sort of the color car that made me fall in love with air-cooled 911s, like the G-body. To me, this is sort of iconic to the G-body shape. So I really love this color. The gold wheels, they're cool, but I just think that I own a set of wheels that would fit this car so perfect. This would help me scratch my wide body itch without having to spend $150,000. I'm telling you, this car has me interested, John. I'm tempted. Look at my fingers getting ready to bid.
It's a pretty one. Our friend Mikey Patrickman has a Targa.
What? Did he get it? Has he taken delivery?
It's I mean, why you gotta bust balls here? Why don't you? He's got a Targa.
Because I want him to
Cassis
drive it to my house.
911, the exact same colorway, the Cassis over the burgundy. I love the burgundy interior on this. Usually, I don't like interiors that are all one color. I usually like to have them broken up with like a black dash and black steering wheel. This one's all Cassis, and I don't care. It's awesome. I would definitely get rid of those floor mats. I agree with you, Michael Deeb, that it's a bit of an unforced error. Bringing this car to market with the same batch of photos. They're not even very good photos in the first place. Right. If they were like awesome photos, it'd be a different story, because do you think what percentage of people, you said this was on the Hemmings auction, correct?
Yeah.
You know, like that is just not a place I ever check. I just feel like Hemmings is for people who are looking for a Model T hot rod, or, you know, a Chevy fill in the blank classic or something like that. I know that Porsches pop up there occasionally, but it's just not a website that I would ever put on my list of things to check. So
let me give you some numbers, JP.
Okay.
Prior to the proliferation of Bring a Trailer, which, let's say it happened 4 or 5 years ago, it really took off, right? It's like that 240Z happened in 2019 or 2018, and then everybody was talking about Bring a Trailer. Prior to that, there was always, at any given time, between like 1,100 and 1,500 Porsches for sale. And most of those cars are older cars. Like, you're talking like, you know, 700 or 800 air-cooled cars, a ton of 356s, and a ton of early like G-body 911s transact on Hemmings prior to Bring a Trailer. Since Bring a Trailer, it's cut that number in half. Now you get between like 650 and 800 Porsches at any given moment on Hemmings. And I don't know if they're transacting nearly as much as they did. Clearly, Bring a Trailer is where you go to sell a Porsche of this era.
Yeah, I mean, saying that Hemmings used to sell a lot of Porsches, that when dinosaurs roamed the earth. I mean, you say before Bring a Trailer, that was, what are you talking about? That was like, before the internet, you know, Hemmings used to sell a lot of Porsches. They were the place to go. A lot of things did better when there was no internet. You know, I mean, there's no Sears or JCPenney around either.
I have a witty response for you. Let me write this note down and put it on a pigeon and send it to Vegas. So
right. There you go. Very nice. No, Hemmings is just, it's old, it's antiquated. Their user interface on the website is awful. It's just a trash website. I mean, it's just absolutely a piece of junk. So PCAR market, what's that?
Pleated pants.
Lots of pleated pants. Very good. So this car, I guess you could say that the photos aren't necessarily burned, because who saw them over there anyway? It's like, you know, they may as well be new photos, because that's my whole point. Yeah. You went there, you saw it, you noticed, you've been looking for a wide body for a while, and you do a good job doing the research. So but I do, again, I'm with you though. It's an unforced error to bring the car to market with the same batch of photos, especially since they aren't very good. Now, if on the other hand, on Hemmings, they had a batch of beautiful photos that they shot that were just awesome, and, you know, they're unrealized photos because no one saw them, bringing them over here would make sense. But come on, guys, this is $100,000 plus car. You think that's what it's going to bring? Make it look like it. Why are you taking snapshots with the phone? This is crap. All right. Slant Nose 911s. I know what mine sold for not that long ago, and it wasn't anywhere near $100,000, but at the same time, it wasn't nearly as nice as this one. Mine was actually pretty beat up. What's this car going to sell for, Michael D? What do you think?
So what is this going to sell for, and what do I think is going to happen at the end of this auction on PCAR market are really two different numbers, John. All right. Car doesn't close for a couple days. It's only sitting at $19,500 on just 10 bids on PCAR market. I think that this car is going to get to maybe 85,000. It wouldn't surprise me if it stalled out at 78, but I'm just going to say that, you know, if you're just looking at it as a Carrera, I don't even, still it'd be $100,000 if it was just a 40,000 mile Carrera. But I actually think in this case, the Slant Nose, you instead of having a broad appeal for a G-body Carrera, you narrow the appeal to the few people that like slant noses, that would take a slant nose that's not a turbo, and that would take a slant nose in a very polarizing color like Cassis. So I think because you narrowed the field so much, that this car is just going to drop down to like $85,000. And I think that's sort of where it's going to stall out. I think it's going to fail to sell at that number and wind up in the deal tank for $120,000 or more. So I'm giving you two takes, but the number I'm sending you home with, John, is $85,000. But I just want to go on record as saying I think it fails to sell anywhere under $100,000 unless the consignor pulls the reserve for some reason. They just decide to offload it, which is why I kind of want to watch, because if this car could be had for $78,000 to $85,000, I would take it. I would drive that burgundy interior for that, and I'd put my wheels on it, put my exhaust on it, and just have a blast with this thing. I think it'd be a fun car to go to events in, because I just think it would get a shit ton of attention. So JP, 85 grand to you, but a failed to sell. I'm on record as that.
Look, I think your take is right on, man. This car would be worth so much more if it were stock. I mean, and it looks like it was a quality build, and that's why I asked early on, is like, when did you say this was done? I think, like, if you're watching the show, there's no way this was a recent. Especially noticing that plate on the dashboard, it's got that gold, that brass plate that says the Coach Works. This had to have been done in the 80s or 90s. There's no way this is a recent build. No one would do this recently. I mean, in the last, no one would convert.
You'd hurt the value of the car.
Yeah, unless you had something. I mean, look, all the conversions in the last 10 years, if you had a 911 that you wanted to cut up, you were making it an RWB or something. You know, you weren't making it a slant nose. Nobody's going to go through the cost. And the cost of coach work like this is so expensive now. Getting paint and all that stuff is just through the roof. It would cost you, like, let's say you had an 87 911 with 40,000 miles on it and you wanted to make it a slant nose, wide body. How much do you think that would cost to do, Deeb? That would be at least probably $100,000 to do that with paint and body work and all that kind of stuff. And there's no way you're getting $200,000 for a car like this. Not a chance.
Legit 40 grand. I mean, it would be legit 40 grand. I don't think the body work.
Are you kidding? $40,000. Who's going to do this kind of paint work and body work on? Yeah. I mean, is this more or less work than, say, restoring a 356, or you know, or what Singer does with 911s, or any of the guys that we know that are, you know, like Flying Hawaiian. He's a good he's kind of good in between that, right? He makes wide body 911s out of narrow body ones, and you know, but all his cars are a couple $100,000. It would cost you way more than $40,000 to put a wide body kit with proper paint and all the other bits in today's market, and you'd have to wait probably 3 years to have it done. There's just no one doing this kind of work these days. But okay, maybe
I think I should buy this car. You're getting me so ethered up, because like you couldn't replicate it again. I mean,
if it goes for a realistic price, but I think the problem is that you're right. I think whoever owns it thinks it's worth way more. I think PCAR market doesn't care. So they're like, yeah, just list it, whatever. Yeah. Pat the guy in the butt. I think you're right. The person thinks it's worth 120 grand. And it's not. An 87 911 with 40,000 miles brings, what do you think? Like just like the stock one with the same colorway.
Oh,
100 grand, 100 grand.
Oh, more than 100.
Okay.
More, absolutely. Cause a Cassis G50 with 40,000 miles, well over 100 grand. Yeah. $119,000. Easy.
Right. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think that they're a little softer than that, but I'm not going to make that big an argument with it. The slant nose wide body kit definitely hurts the value, but does it, or let me rephrase that. It doesn't bring any extra value, right? No. So does it bring more? Does it make is it a zero net gain, or is it something that hurts the value? And you're saying that this car, that if it were stock in the same condition otherwise, it'd be worth $120, and then your bid is 85. So you're saying it's worth a solid $35,000 or $30,000 less than what it would if it were stock. What am I saying?
But I don't think it'll necessarily transact at that price. So that's the hard part. I just think that by doing this, you've narrowed the appeal. So there's only like one or two people willing to bid, and I just don't think you're going to find that guy that'll pay the retail price on PCAR market in January. So I think it's going to stall it.
Hold on a second. Hold on. I hear all that. You said that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm pushing you on this one a little bit. Is it worth, if
I still think the car's worth 100 grand.
You still think the car's worth $100,000? Then why wouldn't it bring? Then why do you say 85 why do you think it'll stall out at 85?
Because it's just too narrow appeal, and I don't think PCAR market's going to have the audience for it.
So you think if it were on
this car should have been on Bring a Trailer.
If it were on Bring a Trailer, you think it would get to 100?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna look. I think your bid is right, but I don't think it's worth 100. There's no way this car's worth 100. I think it's worth right what you're saying. I think that this does hurt the value significantly. It's not equal to a stock one. It certainly doesn't add value. So, but you know, so gosh, where do I get? I'm going to put one tick above you. Because I think you're 85. Wow. That was the number that I had in my head. I was going to go, it's 85. And you picked my number. So I'm going to go 86. And I agree with you. It's going to fail to sell because it's PCAR market. If it were on BAT though, I don't think it would really bring anything more. I don't think this is a PCAR market problem. I think that's a this car problem. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I hope that when we come back from break after our word from sponsor, that I am reporting to you from the deal tank where I am negotiating with the seller of this car and that I am buying it. That would be.
Would you buy it for $100,000?
I don't know about 100, but see, here's the thing. I've got 2 wide bodies that I've got earmarked at $110,000 and $135,000 respectively. But they're not G50 cars, but they're factory M491s. But if this car were significantly under 100,000, if it was 85 or 86, if it could be had for that number, then yeah, why not save myself $25,000 and have a car that's arguably a little bit cooler? You know what I mean? Like,
this definitely has a lot more street appeal, right? I mean, I like I said, I like Slant Nose.
Car's a cartoon character.
This car, you roll up, you're going to get a lot more attention than a stock 911.
So much personality. Yeah. It's very, you know, it's funny. 911s to me are not exotic looking. This car looks like an exotic car to me. It's very Miami. It's really cool.
I hope you get this car, Michael Deeb. I hope you bid on it. I hope you wind up finding a way to make it happen. I'd love to take a ride in this
while we go talk to our sponsor, I'm going to go talk to my wife.
Good luck with that. Hey guys, I got to tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you got to call our friend Steve at Godden. This guy.
1989 linen gray metallic G50 cab.
Is that going to be for sale?
It is going to be for sale. The car only has 65,000 miles.
Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. All right, welcome back, you guys. Thanks for hanging out. Are you excited about this Slant Nose? I'm pretty excited about this Slant Nose. Michael Deeb, what happened with this auction? I see you're scooching around in your seat a little bit.
What, Yahtzee, baby.
Yahtzee. He calls it right.
Check it out. There's a motherfucking genius on the set. Oh, man. I love it when we're right. You were right there, too, JP. You said 86,000. I said 85,000. Our car sold on PCAR market for $85,000 on 40 bids. Put an asterisk next to my initial, JP. I won that one. Here's the thing, though. I said that I thought this car would land at 85,000, but I honestly didn't think it would sell for that because I remember this car being in the classifieds for over $100,000. And I also promised our audience that if it landed at 85,000 and was going to sell for that, I'd be in the mix. I was not in the mix, and I should have bought this car for 85,000, John. This is the most disappointing Yahtzee of all time because I would have loved to own this car for $85,000. I think the buyer is the big winner here, not you and me. I'm just so surprised that this car tripped for so little money. It looks like it's in really nice condition. I know there's a little bit of weathering on the front, but I like everything about this car, and I cannot think of an air-cooled 911 for under $100,000 that would get as much eyeball as this car would, and it's still a G50 Carrera with only 40,000 miles. I think it's a tremendous value, and I'm really happy for the buyer, if not a little bit green with envy. So, you and I were all over this one, John. I am a little bit surprised it sold for that. Maybe you're not as much as I am, but congratulations. That's a lot of car for the money in my book. A Cassis Slant Nose with 40,000 miles. I wish I bought it myself. Damn you. Anyway, back to you, John. What do you think, man?
That's a lot of pretty for the buck for sure.
Yeah, jeez.
I don't know. Now, you are someone who has actually owned a wide body, naturally aspirated 911.
Right.
I'm going to go ahead and admit it as a multiple, having owned a bunch of 911s, been lucky enough to be able to drive all kinds of stuff. I prefer a naturally aspirated car, but in the wide body configuration, With a naturally aspirated car, you got two problems. One, with a car like this that has all the eyeball, a car that looks the business, kind of like an RWB, right?
Yeah.
You got these big vents on the fenders. You got all these. I mean, it's just, you got the cheese graters. You got all this stuff going on, and it's just like people are going to expect this car to perform at a certain level that it's just not going to be able to realize. This car is going to be able to handle what. I mean, this is still going to be a great driving car.
Sure.
But you've owned a wide body, naturally aspirated, a real M491. For lack of a better way to put it, car. And you sold it, and I've always kind of, I was thinking the reason why you sold that car was because you were like a little underwhelmed with the performance of it because it had all that extra stuff. But then you're like, oh, I'm back in the market for another M491 car.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I would take a mid-year Carrera. Like I'd be all over that if I could afford one, to find one that's nice. The car is a little bit heavy. The car, I think, has even more weight over the front end, so I think it plows more than even a standard Carrera bodied 911. But I love the way they look, and they still drive really, really well. What happened was I got out of my Carrera, and then I've driven a variety of other cars. 914. I've driven a Mercedes 190. I recently
when you
bought
say
an
driven,
Alpha.
you mean like cars that you've owned, not just driven.
That I'm driving, and now I realize, maybe my Carrera didn't hold a candle to my 964, and maybe my 964 didn't hold a candle to a GT3. But once you leave the Porsche brand or you go to any of these other lesser cars, nothing else is a Porsche. And so even a heavy wide body, naturally aspirated Carrera, you suddenly long for that. It's like you don't realize what you have until it's gone, kind of thing. So, a lot of seller's remorse over here on from the Deeb studio, and I would love to go back and get another one, and maybe do a teeny bit more with the suspension to just enhance it a little bit, so that that front end will bite and it won't sway so much, but not crazy. I don't want to go crazy on the car. I just want to drive one again. And plus,
would you consider getting a turbo?
No, but I've got wheels and an exhaust, and I've got stuff lying around that'll all go on that car. So it just makes sense to buy another one, and I can put all my pieces back.
Your bits
back on that
there.
car. Yeah, bits. Yeah. So I'm ready to rock.
What do you guys out there think? What do you think of this price? Do you think this car was stolen? Is this indicative of a market correction? We talk about that kind of stuff all the time. Or do you think it was just kind of an odd duck car that because it's not a real deal, Slant Nose, that this is something that just was a great opportunity to get for that big bling for the buck? What do you got to say, Deeb, before we go away?
I have a question for the audience, and let us know in the comments. Do you guys think this car would have brought more money on Bring a Trailer?
Yeah, that's a very good question out there. I don't know. The comments have been pretty good. We're getting a lot of people saying some cool stuff. There's been some really good takes on the comments below. So please hang out with us and tell us what you think down below. And I really do love watching your guys' bids. That is a lot of fun. Deeb, do you not love the nerd herd out there? The nerd herd's getting bigger.
Thank you. Yeah, we love you. And then hopefully, this is a car I should have bought, John, because we could do this car at recently announced Luft in the Bay Area, in my backyard. So the whole herd is welcome to come to the Bay Area. Maybe we'll organize a Friday drive or something. If people come to town, we could do a Bid Nerds Professor /run or something if you guys are into it. So
Professor Run sponsored by Bid Nerds and the Rami Show. There we go.
Let's develop that whole thing. I've already reached out to Yuri. We'll reach out to Ben, the professor, and then if the herd is going to come to Luft and going to be in my backyard, let us know. We'll organize something so we can get out there and hang out.
We need to do like a Bid Nerds Rami Show party at your restaurant.
Sure.
I don't know if there's going to be enough room, but we'll just figure it out anyway, right? We'll just park Porsches all over the park, all over the sidewalk and everything.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Yeah.
Love it. All right, guys, stay tuned for a Luft 9 Bid Nerds and Rami Show wingding at the Knob Hill Cafe. That'll be the place to be at some point during Luft Cult. It's a 2-day thing now, so it's going to be hard to plan, but we'll figure it out.
80 days from now or something. So let's go. Let's make it happen.
All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow with the most interesting car of the day. Thanks, God and Porsche, and thanks, The Rami Show. Bye.
Nerd! Get those nerds!